this is Brianna. Today I wanted to come to you with my TBR for the Cramathon. The Cramathon is a readathon created by Whitney at Witty Novels. It is running December from Saturday the 19th until Tuesday the 22nd. All the information I can find on the readathon that I think might be interesting to you, I will leave in the description. For this 4-day readathon, there are 7 prompts, and I have chosen a few books that sort of fit the prompts and a few books that sort of don't. And I'll make it fit where I can, and where I can't, I'll just sort of, bend or break the prompts and do what I want. I am really excited to be taking part in the Cramathon because I love readathons. They're a great way to make me read more, and this falls at a perfect time because it starts the Saturday following my last week of teaching for the month. So for the rest of December, I am doing nothing except planning. I have to go into work and be in the office, but I'm not teaching any students. So it's sort of a weird thing about teaching in Korea that you just sort of have to do if you're teaching in a public school in order to get paid. So this starts at the beginning of my desk warming season, where I'll be at work doing nothing. So it's a perfect time for a readathon. I have plenty of time to read. So this readathon has 7 challenges, and I am sort of fulfilling these challenges and sort of not. You'll see how it goes as I go along. But I have selected a few books that I really want to finish before the end of the year, and that is where I will start. So I have a few books in physical copy and a few in ebooks, so I'm going to sort of jump around in the challenge list starting with the books that I have physical editions of. The first book is one that I am for sure 100% going to read, and that is Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. This book I am definitely going to read because I have to read it for my class. So this book, I have no idea what it's about. I have to read it for my colonization book. It's by a Nigerian author, so yay, diverse reading. This one is going to fit for the read a book under 100 pages. This book is, I think, 152 pages. So it falls well under the 200 page mark. The second book that I have a physical edition of that I'm going to be reading is Drifting House by Chris Lee. I mentioned in a video earlier this week that I wasn't sure if I was really going to continue reading this, and honestly, I'm still not super interested, but I have decided that I'm going to commit myself. I'm going to read this book before the end of the year because it is one of the only books that I own by a Korean author, and I need to read something by a Korean author while I'm in Korea. So this book is counting for 2 challenges. One is the read a book you did not finish. And I got this book in February. I read about halfway through the first story and stopped. I recently finished that, but still I started reading this in February and then it just sort of sat on the shelf, so did not finish. The second challenge this is going to fulfill is the read a bindup. This is not a traditional bindup, but it is a bindup of short stories, so it counts. It's not a bindup of novels, it's a bindup of short stories, but they're each self-contained plots and they're all in one, binding, so it's a bindup. The third book I have a physical edition of is one that I'm just sort of using to supplement because the final challenge in this readathon is to read 5 books total, and when I was making up this list I only had 4 books that were sort of cross-listed various ways. So the 5th book that I am going to attempt to be reading, if I don't finish 5 books in some other manner, is In the Miso Soup by Ryu Murakami. This book is another short one. It's only just over 200 pages, I do believe, and it is about a Japanese man who is he's sort of like an entrepreneur. He works as a tour guide for the Japanese sex industry, kind of illegal, whatever, and he is giving a tour to an American man who he believes may be the killer who is going around and killing prostitutes in Tokyo. So I started reading this. I really enjoy it. I want to finish it. So if I have time during this readathon, I will be tackling this one. On to my non-physical editions. One of the challenges this readathon is to read an ebook/audiobook, and I have done a lot of that this year, and they're the most easily accessed for me. So I chose for this readathon that I'm going to be reading, well, more like finishing an ebook, and that is Carry the Ocean by Heidi Kulleman. I started reading this book maybe last week, and I really enjoy it, and I really want to finish it, and I might actually finish it before the readathon even starts, because that's how much I'm enjoying it. But if I am not finished with it by the time the readathon starts, by midnight, then I am going to finish that and call it one of my books for the readathon, because yay, cheating! If I do finish it, then the next book that I'm talking about is going to be cross-listed for 2 categories. So another category to attempt to read is to finish a series. And I decided that I really enjoyed a book that I read in October, and hey, there's a sequel and it's a duology. So I will be attempting to read Afflicted 2 by Brandon Shire. I read Afflicted for the hashtag Yearathon Readathon in October, and I really enjoyed it, and I want to see where they go with the character development, because there are some interesting ideas that you're sort of left hanging on at the end of Afflicted, and I want to know how it works out. So that will be meeting the category of finish a series, and if I finish Carry the Ocean before midnight, then that will also be fulfilling the read an ebook challenge. The final challenge for this readathon is to read a graphic novel series. And I recently discovered that there is a series of comics called Killing Shakespeare. I will leave the information in the description because I do not remember who wrote it. So this is a book where basically the characters from Shakespeare's plays are sort of trying to find him and trying to stop Prospero, who is a character from Shakespeare's The Tempest. And I really love Shakespeare, and I flipped through the first comic in the series, and it's rather amusing, and I have no idea where it's gonna go. So I'm interested in finishing this, so if I have time, then I'll pick that up. If I don't, then this category is gonna get a great big X, and I'm not gonna care. So those are the books that I'm planning on reading, and to go through with a bit more coherency, in the order of the challenges listed on Whitney's video, there's challenge number 1, read an ebook/audiobook. I will be attempting to read Carry the Ocean, and if I finish with that one before the readathon starts, I will be reading Afflicted 2. The second challenge is to read a bindup, and for that one I'm going to be reading Drifting House by Chris Lee. The third challenge is to finish a series, and for that I will be reading Afflicted 2. And if not, then I might read Killing Shakespeare. The fourth challenge is to read a book under 200 pages, and for that I will be reading Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. The fifth challenge is to read a book that I DNF'd, and for that I will be reading, same as number 3. The sixth challenge is to read a graphic novel series, and for that I will be reading Killing Shakespeare, or I will be reading nothing. We'll see what happens. And the seventh and final challenge is to read 5 books. And if I do not read Killing Shakespeare and I finish Carry the Ocean, then I will have a lot less than that. But I will attempt to fluff up my number and read In the Miso Soup by Ryu Murakami. So that's it. Those are the books that I plan to read for the Cramathon this month. So if you're interested in any of these books, leave me a comment. I'll be sure to tell you what I think about it later. And if you're participating in the Cramathon, what are you reading? Do you have this time off? Do you have a lot of free time to read? I do. So that's all I have for you for this video. I will let you know how I do at the end. Maybe there'll be an update in the middle. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Until next time, bye!